The race to the red planet has long appeared to be exclusive to the biggest billionaires and their corporate backups. But someone else has crossed the white ribbon first. We'll talk about these folks and more in today's episode. Everybody talks about how February is the month of love, but this year we're adding another thing to celebrate besides romance. We're also celebrating discovery. If you're like me, who loves all the news going around about the red planet, you probably would have already heard about the biggest players in the game of getting to Mars first. Of course, first and foremost, there's the ever-popular SpaceX program by Elon Musk. Then we also have Blue Origin by Jeff Bezos. You can really tell that there's really huge interest in bagging the medal of being the first corporate entity to bring Earth to Mars. I mean, for something to get two of the world's biggest billionaires? I don't think they are men who like to waste time on anything they wouldn't believe have any value whatsoever. Be honest, guys, who among these two did you place your bets on? Well, if you did place any money on either of them, then I have bad news for you. These boys were beaten by not just one, but two National Space Agency expeditions. After beginning their 480 million kilometer journey, or for you Americans watching the show, about 300 million miles, mid-July last year, Mars was visited by not just one but two unmanned space probes just this past February 10th. The first one arriving on the 9th was United Arab Emirates' Hope, followed by China's Tianwen just about a day after. This amazing feat placed both countries as the fifth and sixth cultures from Earth to successfully be welcomed by our Vermilion neighbor. The first four to make it there were firstly, of course, the USA, followed by India, the old Soviet Union, and Europe through the European Space Agency. Actually, if we include NASA's Perseverance arriving by the 18th, that puts Elon and Jeff way behind. Might want to keep up, boys. As of the current moment, Hope and Tianwen-1 are already orbiting the Martian atmosphere, a Herculean challenge that they completed with flying colors. The amazing feat that these two spacecraft accomplished is already super impressive, considering that about half of the missions sent to Mars were unsuccessful. You see how many crash and burns SpaceX missions had in its lifetime, right? But okay, I know that Mars appears to be an extremely popular destination for some of the most important entities and individuals in the world, but these missions did not go there just to have a vacation. Let's talk about what these probes were sent there to do, shall we? Let's begin with the first to get there, UAE's flagship interplanetary mission Hope, or Al-Amal as locally known in Arabic. UAE is not entirely a newbie in terms of sending instruments into space. Officially speaking, Hope is the fourth one in their resume. You can't imagine the level of sophistication in the technology that they are bringing, with the history of space missions they have already launched. Hope's ambitious task can be explained in three parts. First, to understand how the climate dynamics of the red planet works by analyzing the lower atmosphere. Second, to explain how hydrogen and oxygen manages to get away from the climate changes by looking into how the upper and lower atmospheres are correlated. And finally, understanding the full composition and the variability of hydrogen and oxygen in the upper atmosphere, therefore leading to an insight into why Mars has a habit of losing them into space. Simply speaking, Hope is going to be floating a lot in the Martian atmosphere in an attempt to describe it better and help mankind get a further understanding of it, so that when anyone asks, "How's the weather out there?" we would have a more articulate answer. If you thought that was the only motive of the Hope mission, well, you're not giving humanity much credit. Besides the obvious scientific reasons, of course we wouldn't send anything into Mars just for the casual sake of being there, right? But okay, besides being a scientific endeavor, another motivation of launching the Hope program is to encourage more young Arabs to be interested and participate in STEM research. This is motivated by the fact that UAE's oil and petrochemical production industry have been so popular that it has become oversaturated in the past years. The government understands that for their civilization to prosper more, they have to get citizens interested in other fields. And come on, space exploration is not a very difficult thing to sell now, is it? I don't know about you, but I'm excited to follow what kinds of information this probe will collect. Surely we'll keep you posted with everything Mars and space related in this channel like we always do. Now let's move on to the next visitor to our sister planet and potential future home. China's Tianwen-1. I'd like to talk about the name for a bit before going any further, because I just can't get over the fact that it's an extremely poetic name. One translation of the probe's name is a quest for the heavenly truth. And being students of astronomy, isn't that the goal for every mission we launch? To find a truth that hasn't been revealed to us yet, and is just completely hiding from us deep within the night sky. I, for one, think it's just hauntingly beautiful. What about you guys? Let us know in the comments down below. Unlike UAE's Hope, Tianwen-1 was only the second among the space missions that China has launched. But the only difference this time is that they have launched it independently and without the help of other international partners. The first one they sent, Yingwo-1, was carried out to space by a Russian probe. Unfortunately, that one failed. But years later, they got another chance with the development and birth of Tianwen-1. If the Hope probe aims to study the heavens of Mars, Tianwen-1, on the other hand, aims to study the surface. Having said this, the mission of the spacecraft did not end upon entering the red planet's orbit. The next step is to land its rover, which is scheduled to happen sometime next May or June. In the meantime, the orbiter will float above the rover's landing site to survey and make a comprehensive map of the intended landing site, Utopia Planitia. So okay, let's say it's around May or June and Tianwen-1 has finally dropped its lander on Utopia Planitia. What's next for it to do? Way before the launch of this mission, studies already existed indicating the presence of water on Mars. The European Space Agency's Mars Express discovered evidence for subsurface water using its radar, but that observation was only made in orbit. Of course, it's better to get a grasp of what's actually going on the surface itself. If you're someone who's a space geek like me, I'm pretty sure you understand how important finding water is. Once we verify the existence of water on Mars, it will lead us closer to knowing whether life, or life as we know it on planet Earth, exists on Mars, or have existed on Mars at some point. Either of these two truths are equally as important. If you're enjoying the show so far, why don't you let us know? Go ahead and leave us a like on this video and tell us where you're watching from in the comments section. Oh, and if you think you have more love to show the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click the bell icon too so that you'll get notified whenever something new comes up on the channel. Okay, back to Tianwen-1. Besides the great goal of finding signs of water, Tianwen-1 is also set to study the soil composition and the planet's atmosphere, particularly its ionosphere. Now, this next bit is not the main objective, but part of the checklist of things to do was also to serve as a technology demonstration for China's future Mars sample return mission, scheduled to launch sometime around 2030. Looks like they are serious about getting to know the red planet more. If the spacecraft succeeds in accomplishing all these, they will become the second country to make a successful landing, second only to the US. Remember back when the only two competing countries in space exploration were the USA and the USSR? Those days are long gone now. Last but not least, let's now talk about the last visitor to Mars, NASA's Perseverance, or Percy for short. Pretty cute name, isn't it? Following a long line of predecessors, one including the popular names such as Opportunity and Curiosity, this probe is tasked with a mission to know more about the red planet. Upon arriving within the vicinity of Mars, it's scheduled to land on the Jezero crater. And did I tell you that Percy didn't come all by itself? The rover is also carrying Ingenuity, a robotic helicopter that will serve as a part of a handful of tech demonstrations that will be carried out by the rover. The mini-helicopter is aimed to determine the feasibility of flight on the red planet. Moreover, Ingenuity will fly over the landing site of Perseverance to help plan its route better, and to look for targets that could be interesting to pick up. The primary task of Perseverance is to explore and further understand the geology of Mars, and just like its co-voyager Tianwen-1, it also seeks to look for signs of life on Mars. Once it's there, it will be performing the following. First is to look for indications of past or present forms of life embedded in some special types of rocks. Second, gather and collect rock and soil samples from the landing site to assist future missions to the red planet, and assess the habitability of the red planet. Looks like we're going to be in for a treat with all the new information that we're going to get. It starts with hope, then comes the quest for the heavenly truth. Then it ends with Perseverance and Ingenuity. It's almost as if the arrival of these 3 space probes is an allegory and a retelling of man's desire to understand nature, isn't it? I mean, let's really think this through. Hope makes us want, makes us want to look for something. We can also express this as having a dream. When we're set to having a dream, we go out to find that dream. We're set out to find a truth so grand and so beyond us that it can be characterized as a quest for a heavenly truth. Then when we're finally out to that journey of looking for that truth, what keeps us going and going? There's really not a straight answer, but surely 2 of the things that's going to matter hugely is our capacity to persevere, our perseverance, and our capacity to think under any circumstance, or our ingenuity. Pretty neat how that all falls into their proper places, right? I know you all came here and loved the show because of the science-related stuff we provide for you. But you know what? It's a refreshing experience to take a dip into philosophy and poetry every once in a while. These are all important endeavors that mankind have been utilizing to describe experience, after all. Plus, the more knowledge we give, the better. The name of the channel is Insane Curiosity, and it couldn't be more insane than what we just analyzed. But okay, enough about the channel. I want to know more about your thoughts. What do you think of these 3 space missions that we're observing Mars? Do you think exploring the red planet is an important task? Or do you think mankind should focus more on problems that are here on our home planet, especially now that there's a terrible thing going on after a year? I know you have a lot of great answers to this question, and we'd like to know about them. So why don't you leave those answers in the comment section down below? Let's have a conversation. So that's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you had fun. If this is something that you can call your cup of tea, why don't you let us know by leaving a like? Or if you think these types of videos shouldn't ever happen again, we'd like to know that too. Leave a dislike if you think these aren't something that should stay up. There's also the comments if you think binary options aren't sufficient enough to express your thoughts. I'm honored to have presented this to you today, and thank you so much for tuning in. We make videos several times a week, so go ahead and click that subscribe button to keep you in the loop of what's going on here. Click the bell button too, so that you'll get notified whenever we upload something new. I promise to keep it as interesting as possible. See you next time, folks, and as we always say, stay insanely curious.